edition of World Karate Association of the United States of America. This is the Commissioner Moore speaking from headquarters in Delco, North Carolina. Is this the faithful member?
Yeah, this Sensei T.
Well, hello there, Mr. T. So nice to hear from you. I know you've been talking to me about wanting to do an interview with me. There's so many people wanting to know more about me and why they never heard of me and all. Well, that's up to you newspaper and writers and magazine writers and the old pioneer writers. They never wanted to write about us minorities or the pioneer days. So I'm pleased to hear that you want to do an interview.
Oh, yeah. Let's get this show on the road, baby.
All right. Well, I've been asked so many times, how did I beat Bruce Lee? And did I beat everybody out there? Yes. And what were some of my favorite techniques? Who did I train from? I've been asked a lot of questions. And there's so many people that's very upset that they never heard of me and don't know that much about me. I say, well, that's the writer's fault. History is made by those who write it. If it hasn't been written, then they don't know about it. And also, Mr. T, we didn't have the cell phone and internet and all that stuff back in the 50s and the 60s and all.
Yeah.
Most of these people, Mr. T, they think karate didn't start until the 80s.
Yeah.
After all the Bruce Lee movies and all that stuff, all that hype took place. They don't know of none of the champions hardly from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
We had tournaments going up in Canada before we did here in the United States. But our first tournament started off with in a club tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll start off explaining a little bit about how I got started in karate.
Okay.
Then, if the people can digest how I got started and who some of my instructors was, they may halfway can believe all the things that I've done and say that I've done and all. It's one thing about Vic Moore. I've done enough, Mr. T, that I don't have to exaggerate.
Amen.
I do not have to exaggerate over nothing. And I darn sure, as a Christian, not going to lie.
Amen.
Now, just because these folks never heard of me does not mean that I wasn't born and I'm alive. I never heard of some of them. And those that never heard of me is pretty sure I haven't heard of them. Yeah. And people think just because I never heard of you, you didn't exist. Well, I've been born. I was born in 1943, so I've been born.
There you go.
I started my karate back in 1950, so I've been born.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know when y'all got y'all computers and got your internet and all that stuff, but we didn't have those internets back there and cell phones when we were training and competing and all. So that's part of the reason that you never heard of me maybe before, and this may be the only time that you heard of me now, and that's because of the internet and all. Well, as a young kid, 6 and 7 years old growing up, a lot of the big boys, as we call them, from the neighborhood, had gotten back from the military, and all we knew about was regular street fighting and boxing. Everybody used to watch the Friday night fights, the boxing. All of us little kids had some made-up punching bag, a heavy bag, that we punched on, which most time was a clothes bag, full of clothes on. And we punched that till our parents made us put it up. But the kids was learning from some of the bigger boys, this jiu-jitsu stuff and judo, and a little bit of this karate had came in. There was a gentleman, Oyama, he was traveling. He came to the United States back there in the 50s, and he was demonstrating on TV, and he was showing some of his karate. And for some of us who was lucky enough to have a TV back then, was able to see some of this stuff, and we already knew some of this jiu-jitsu and judo a little bit. And man, here's something new. This guy is kicking and punching and doing all kind of stuff like that. But Mr. T, you see, back in my days, we couldn't bite, we couldn't spit, and we couldn't kick. If you bit, spit, or kick, you were dirty fighting. So when this guy come out kicking and all, we thought this was some form of dirty fighting.
Yeah.
But we wanted to learn some of it because we knew how to box around the neighborhood. And boy, was I rough and tough on them back then. Oh, I would throw them just as hard. See, my brother used to throw me around. My big brother Charlie there, he used to throw me around and push and beat up on his little brother here. So I wanted to train real good so I can get back at him. Well, these big fellas, they used to tell us, man, these Japanese people used to dig their hands in buckets of sand until it had blisters on it and callus. And they could break boards and bricks with their fingertips and all. Well, if young boys, you say, well, that's impossible, isn't it? Well, next thing you knew, we were getting us a bucket. We didn't have much sand around the neighborhood, but we go up to the baseball field and got buckets of dirt.
Yeah.
And we start jigging our hands in these buckets, thinking we're going to get our fingers strong and tough enough to break boards and whatnot. Man, this is a new way of self-defense, beating our hands on boards and trees, hard in our hands.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we got interested and got started. And as I got a little older, we moved from the west end of Cincinnati out to a place called Commonwealth. And there was a gentleman out there practicing, as we know it today, as katas. And I used to watch this fella say, hey, that fella's doing some of that stuff that Japanese fella was doing on TV. I already knew how to do some throws and do some break balls from the older fellas in the neighborhood that had gotten back from the service had taught us. And where he was practicing at was out in the woods, up above our house where we lived at. We lived on a covered site there. And I would climb the hill and watch him and see that he was doing some of that karate stuff. And I said, mister, will you show me some of that? No, you're too young, boy. Just go on. This is for men. But I know how to do some judo and jiu-jitsu and all. Yeah, but this is a lot different. And I kept bugging him, and he finally let me start working with him, and I became his punching bag.
Oh, his little punching
bag. He was going to discourage me, but I was too stubborn anyway.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of discipline because our folks back in the day was very strict on discipline. In school, the teachers were strict on discipline. So most of the kids was well disciplined. Not like in this day and time, they'll tell you where to go, where to jump off that cliff. Back in my days, any grown person could whoop a child,
Yeah.
within righteous. But nowadays, boy, you better not touch her.
Yeah, boy. Phew.
So he started showing me some of these techniques, and all he seen that I could take it. As a little young fella, I wasn't going to cry and quit. And so he had me beating on trees, jumping up, kicking tree limbs, and throwing me around and punching on me. He had a brother, his name was Ron Williams, and he had a brother that finally came around and saw me learning, and he wanted to learn, so he let him start. So we was his two students, you might say.
Yeah.
And boy, he was showing us these kung fu moves and some Japanese moves. It was mostly called Kempo back then,
Yeah.
Kung Fu and Kempo. And he was showing us two different styles of karate. We adapt pretty well. I practice every day, every day. Come home from school, ate a little bite, and did one page of homework, and ran up the hill to learn some of this karate stuff. My parents, boy, you better get on back here and do your homework. Come on back here and eat. No, I'm not hungry. I'll do my homework later. Boy, you better get on back here. So I had to contend with that. But just as soon as I was able, up there I was every day, training. And boy, I really took a knack to it. And I got darn good at it.
Yeah.
We was hitting trees, knocking the bark off of it eventually. And after about 5 or 6 years, don't think I wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was not in a dojo, what it's called nowadays, or a dojang. We were out in the woods. Our punching bags was trees, tree limbs. We had to practice on the grass, on the dirt. Everybody had to learn break falls. I already knew break falls from jiu-jitsu and judo and all. But eventually we started hearing about in the magazines karate tournaments overseas up in Canada and whatnot. Man, that would sure be nice to go to a tournament and compete with one another. Well, learning karate back then, as I said, was so strict and so hard. We always looked at the instructors as being somewhat off, crazy. They didn't care if you quit or not. It seemed like they tried to make you quit. They didn't want to have a lot of students. They just wanted to train for themselves.
Yeah.
But as we were taught, karate was not for play and not just for tournaments. It was self-defense, a way of life. Karate can hurt a person severely.
Mm-hmm.
And after year in and year out learning, there eventually